Good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to SRIRAM's IAS. Today, in our series of One PYQ a day related to UPSC Mains, we'll be discussing the essay topic. This essay topic is from 2023 UPSC CSE Mains. Before starting the whole discussion, let's talk about the 1:1 free session, mentorship session, which SRIRAM IAS provides to you. And in this session, you can come and discuss with the senior mentors from our institute, and you can proceed with your UPSC preparation in an effective and efficient manner. Okay, so now let's get back to the essay topic which we are discussing today. Now, this essay topic is very beautifully written, and that's why a lot of aspirants found a bit difficult to handle this kind of topic because of the beauty of this whole topic. Now, once I say the beauty of the topic, what I mean is that once you read this, it says visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. Such a fine statement. Visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. Now, in this case, what usually happens is that student is able to understand the meaning of the statement, but the student comes short of the various examples which are available to address or substantiate this topic of the essay. That's why I told you the beauty of this particular essay topic makes it difficult. Now, as I already told you in my previous sessions on essay about the process through which you can approach an essay, in that I specifically told you about, first of all, you need to brainstorm. While brainstorming, what you need to understand is that you need to deconstruct the topic of the essay. जब तक आपको essay का topic समझ में नहीं आएगा, तब तक आप उसको किस अप्रोच से आगे बढ़ें ये भी आप समझ नहीं पाएंगे. So let's deconstruct this topic first. Now the topic says visionary decision making happens at the intersection of intuition and logic. Here the keywords are decision making, intersection of intuition and logic. Now before starting with this essay topic, you all must understand what the difference between intuition and logic, because यहाँ पे intuition and logic diabolically use हुए हैं. Now once they have been used diabolically, you need to understand the expression behind it. Now intuition basically means creative foresight. Intuition के पीछे कोई analysis logic नहीं होता है. I just feel like doing it, वो वाली feeling होती है. और इंट्यूशन के बारे में एक वर्ड जो है ये जेनजी टर्म भी है, और साथ ही साथ ये एक ऐसा टर्म है जो पॉप कल्चर रेफरेंस भी रखता है. इंट्यूशन आपने कई बार सुना होगा कि मेरा इंट्यूशन कर रहा है कि मैं आज खेलने जाऊं, मेरा इंट्यूशन कर रहा है कि मैं ये वाली मूवी देखूं, मेरा इंट्यूशन कह रहा है कि ये चीज़ अच्छी है या वो खराब है. तो इसको इंट्यूशन कहते हैं, इसके पीछे कोई लॉजिक एनालिसिस नहीं होता है. तो यहाँ पे ये जो एसे का टॉपिक है ये बेसिकली आपसे ये कहना चाह रहा है कि जो विजनरी डिसीजन मेकिंग है, विजनरी. Now, what do this particular topic mean by visionary decision making? Now, visionary decision making basically means that such kind of decisions which are basically a watershed event. Now, what are watershed events? I took two difficult terms right now. Now, watershed event is something जो कि the course of history change कर दे, कहीं ना कहीं से एक upheaval लेकर आए, तो उसी को visionary decision making कहते हैं. जैसे कि गांधी जी का ट्रूथ है नॉन वायलेंस से स्टिक करना, इट वॉज अ विजनरी डिसीजन मेकिंग. गांधी जी का मासेस को इन्वॉल्व करना इन फ्रीडम मूवमेंट, जब उस टाइम पर की रेगुलर प्रैक्टिस नहीं थी, एंड व्हेन द इंडियंस वर नॉट पॉलिटिकली लिटरेट, दे वर नॉट इवन लिटरेट इन व्हाटएवर वे पॉसिबल. सो दैट्स व्हाई सच काइंड ऑफ डिसीजंस आर विजनरी बाय नेचर, which create a upheaval, which create a fundamental difference in the society, in the world. Those things are called as visionary decision making. Now, this particular statement, this particular essay topic says that visionary decision making जो है वो intuition और logic, कहने का मतलब creative thinking और logic जो कि analysis based है, उनका कहीं ना कहीं एक intersection होता है. intersection ना कि ये पूरा होता है ना वो पूरा होता है, बल्कि उनका intersection होता है. So now once you have understood this essay topic, you need to write that in introduction, that what this essay topic means. And for that you can use various quotes also. Like there's a very simple quote written here. I could have written n number of quotes here, but what I stick by was a simple quotation which basically says the best decisions are a blend of heart and mind. Simple. This has been written here just to make you all understand that such simple quotations can be used while introducing the essay topic. And by taking the help of such quotations, you can just deconstruct the essay topic very efficiently. And once you are done with the deconstruction of essay topic efficiently, then you can proceed organically on the body of the essay topic. अब बॉडी में क्या रहेगा? देखिए, बॉडी में सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज रहेगी फिलहाल कि हाउ टू डिकोड द फिलोसफिकल एंगल इन दिस पर्टिकुलर एसे टॉपिक. सी, ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. जैसे कि पहले ही बता चुका हूं कि किस तरीके से फिलोसफिकल एसेज जो है दे आर फ्लेवर ऑफ द सीजन फॉर यूपीएससी फॉर लास्ट 3-4 years नाउ. So that's why you need to bring out the philosophical angles in this topic. So as to, we can say, because of lack of any other good word, so as to appease the mentality of UPSC, क्योंकि आप यहाँ पर, आप समझिए इस बात को, if you make things easy for the evaluator, then that evaluator will make things easy for you. And what is going to be easy thing for you? To get selection. So that's why you need to throw light on the philosophical angles of this particular essay topic. And what are those? First of all, Aristotle's balance of nous and logos. Nous means intuition, logos means reasoning. Okay, तो आप यहां पे जब इस कंसेप्ट को मेंशन करेंगे तो बेसिकली यू आर ट्राइंग टू कम्युनिकेट दैट सच काइंड ऑफ इंटरसेक्शंस एंड सच काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स हैव ऑलरेडी बीन टॉक्ड बाय ग्रेट फिलोसफर्स इन आवर हिस्ट्री. Now what else can you write? The other thing is Buddha's middle path, wisdom plus reasoning. Of course, wisdom is different from intuition, but try to understand, intuition जो है वो कतई ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कि just ऐसे ही out of blue, out of thin air आपके पास आ गया है. Intuition भी experience से ही gain होता है. That's why some people say that my intuition is good or my intuition is bad. Why do those people who say my intuition is good, why do they say so? Because they have judged it empirically through their experience, that whenever they use their intuition to decide on something, then it is usually right for them. So that basically means that intuition is driven by the wisdom. And once the wisdom comes into picture, then the intersection of wisdom and reasoning basically leads us to Buddha's middle path. Okay? Where Buddha says that one should not live in extremes. One should not tread in extremes. What are the extremes here? Wisdom and reasoning. What are the extremes mentioned in the topic of the essay? Intuition and logic. So these extremes need to be mentioned in the philosophical angle of this particular essay through such examples like Buddha's middle path. Got it? Next is fast instinct plus slow analysis. This point basically is telling you that fast instinct and slow analysis will lead to a successful result, a favorable result, a positive result. And this is how you are going to explain the body of the essay, taking such kind of philosophical takes, and so as to make the evaluator understand that you have understood all the philosophical angles which are being talked about in this essay topic. Got it? Now let's move to the next part of the essay, what you have to write. Now the next part is role of intuition. Now try to understand, for a visionary decision making, you need to look into two things, intuition as well as logic. So in a visionary decision making, what is the role of intuition? That you need to substantiate, that you need to explain in your essay. And what is the role of intuition? Look here, Einstein's thought experiments. When Einstein was formulating theory of relativity, as you all know, theory of relativity has got nothing to do with something which is already available on Earth. It is something about speed of light, which is right now unachievable. Of course, subatomic particles, through subatomic particles in what we can say electron collider, it's possible to reach speed of light, but still for humans it is not possible to reach speed of light. So on those concepts, that too 100 years back, Einstein was working. So what is that? That basically shows Einstein's thought experiments which are part of his intuition. उसको ऐसा लगता था on the basis of his experiences, on the basis of his scientific experiences. And that's why Einstein's thought experiments are a very good example of the role of intuition in creating or formulating a visionary decision. What is the visionary decision here? Theory of relativity. Next is Gandhiji's trust in non-violence. Now, try to understand गांधी जी का जो ट्रस्ट था नॉन वायलेंस में, सत्याग्रह में, वो इतना अडिग था, लेकिन किस बेसिस में था? क्या अंग्रेजों ने ऐसा दिखाया था कि नॉन वायलेंस करने के कारण दे लिसन टू अस? नो, ऐसा कोई पास प्रेसिडेंट नहीं था. When the British colonial power were favorable to us just because we were peaceful, because if they would have been peaceful, तो जरूरत ही क्यों पड़ती इस तरह के टेक्निक को अपनाने की? हमें तो आजादी बहुत पहले मिल गई होती. लेकिन still on the basis of his intuition, Gandhi ji was able to decide on the tool of non-violence, truth and non-violence. Despite of being persecuted and prosecuted unnecessarily, illegitimately, Gandhi ji stuck to non-violence, and that shows that he stuck to intuition, and that shows that intuition helps to achieve great results. So it was a visionary decision taken by Gandhiji on the basis of his intuition. Another example is Mother Teresa's instinct to serve the poor. Now, Mother Teresa was not Indian, but when she came to India with Christian missionaries, as a nun, she decided to serve the poor in Kolkata and surrounding areas. Now, what was the reason behind her getting into such a work which is so tedious, so difficult by nature? Of course, it was intuition. Her intuition, her moral intuition, that one should serve the poor. And that is the role of intuition in visionary decision making. Similarly, the role of logic, it is again very important. We need to understand, decipher both the extremes. Okay, so the other extreme is role of logic. What is the role of logic? What are the examples, suitable examples of the role of logic? The first example is Ambedkar's rigorous study of 60 plus constitutions. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairperson of drafting committee of the constitution. So he would have preferred instinct over rigorous study? No. Despite of Dr. Ambedkar being such a highly educated person, he still studied 60 plus constitutions which were available in the world at that point in time. And from that he formulated Indian constitution because he worked on logic. And what does logic say? Logic says very meticulous understanding, very meticulous data-driven activity, which helps us or you to arrive on a very logical decision. And the creation of Constitution of India is really a visionary decision which was taken up by the constitution makers, in general and in specific Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. What are other such examples? The other such examples are of India's economic planning. Such a huge country we are. Right now we are the world's most populous country. If our policy makers will stick to just their intuition, will that help? No. The policy makers are required to get into meticulous data-driven analysis, and that only can help them to formulate an effective economic planning. So that's why these logical steps are required to arrive at a visionary decision. Next is space explorations. Can we work on intuition in case of space explorations, where a minute miscalculation can lead to the wastage of years of hard work? As we can see in case of Chandrayaan 2. In Chandrayaan 2, even though our calculations were right, still we were unable to reach the desired result. Then again 1 year, 2 year of rigorous inputs और बहुत सारी मेहनत के बाद we were able to reach the south pole of moon, and there were a handful of countries which are able to do that. So there's a logic behind such kind of calculations on the basis of which space explorations are done. That's why the role of logic cannot be ignored at all in a visionary decision making. Got it? Now, what is the intersection which this particular essay topic is talking about? The intersection here which is being talked about is when the fine blend of intuition and logic results into a great development, like Green Revolution. The intuition of policy makers that food security should be achieved so early in independent India, that was an intuition. But then the kind of seeds which were supposed to be sown and how that particular activity of food security can be achieved, and the calculations behind that show the logic on which our policy makers worked. And eventually we are able to become self-sufficient. In the same way, there is an example of Steve Jobs' Apple. Steve Jobs was very intuitive as far as designing is concerned, but then creating a phone which everyone would appreciate, or creating a brand which everyone will try to get it or try to buy in such a fashion that it becomes a fashion statement. For that, Steve Jobs had to intersect intuition, artistic intuition, along with the detailed logical and analytical study of the electronics and communication sciences. Got it? The next one is abolition of slavery. Again, Abraham Lincoln's moral intuition. His moral intuition that everybody is equal, along with the analysis, the logic that such kind of practices like slavery and other such, we have example of untouchability also in India, or say caste system. So such kind of activities are not beneficial for human race. Now this is based on logic, but the moral intuition on the basis of which Abraham Lincoln proceeded with so much issues that civil war happened, and he was able to get slavery abolished. So that is a very good example of when the intuition intersects with logic and results into great developments. Got it? Now we have covered all the aspects where the logic and the intuition worked in sync. But what about those cases where there is imbalance? Now once there is imbalance between intuition and the logic, like over intuition, we can give the example of demonetization. Our policy makers expected that demonetization will lead to elimination of black money and other such practices. But there they were driven by intuition, not by data, not by logic. And that eventually led into the failure of such a huge activity, such a great activity, or such an activity which was carried out on such a huge scale. Another such example is of over logic, like bureaucratic red tapeism. As you all guys know that red tapeism is considered as a term of negative connotation. But why was red tapeism introduced even? Red tapeism was introduced just to maintain checks and balance in each and every step, so that nothing unfair or corrupt occurs. But then the over logic applied behind that has led to red tapeism becoming a kind of impediment towards the growth of a particular nation. So that's why over logic is also not right. There are risks involved with the imbalance. Next, if there is imbalance between the logic and intuition, then that particular decision will either be unsustainable or uninspiring. Got it? And this is not what should be done. Now the next is contemporary relevance. Now we need to write some contemporary relevance of such essay topic. Now those are, first of all, modern democracies. Now modern democracies are based on legitimate intuitions plus the logic for a particular democratic country to work efficiently, that no rights of people are curbed, and along with that, what is also required is that people should have, or the policy makers or the administrators should have, the kind of legitimate intuition which drives them towards the welfare of the people. And when these things amalgamate efficiently, then only a welfare state comes into the forefront. Similarly, in case of business innovations, we can take the example of Tesla. Tesla is such a successful example which one can give of the intuition along with the logic as far as electric cars are concerned. Because of the ill effects of fossil fuels, one day this would have happened anyway, but Elon Musk decided on getting into electric vehicles so early on the basis of his intuition that now he is reaping benefits out of it. And who all are getting benefit? The environment. Similarly, in case of global crisis like COVID, in case of COVID-19, what happened? We wanted vaccines as soon as possible. So how the vaccine is supposed to be developed? That was based on intuition, because there was no past precedent of it, of such a great pandemic. And maybe later, maybe thank God if it doesn't happen again. But the thing is, such kind of global crisis can be a very beautiful example of how intuition can be merged or brought in sync with the logic. So the logic behind creating a new vaccine and the intuition of creating it as soon as possible led into creation of, or the invention of, COVID-19 vaccine in such a short period, which helped a lot of people across the world. So these are some contemporary examples which you can give. Now, what should one be writing in the conclusion of such an essay topic? Now, in the conclusion part, you must understand that neither wholly intuitive nor wholly logic, but a synergy of both, that only can lead to a visionary decision, and that only we discussed in the earlier slides. What happens if imbalance happens? What happens when both the things are in sync? What is the relevance of intuition? What is the relevance of logic? We discussed all of these aspects, and from that only we concluded on that neither wholly intuitive nor wholly logical, but a synergy of intuition as well as logic. Got it? Now at the end you can use a quote. It's such a beautiful quote that when reason tempers instinct and instinct inspires reason, decisions cease to be ordinary, they become visionary. Okay, so you can write these innovative quotes so as to end your essay topic, and through that you have covered all the aspects of this particular essay topic. It was a very beautiful essay topic, and number of things could be written more in that. I would really appreciate if you all write such aspects and send them to us so that we can discuss about it in the next session. Okay, that's it from my side. Thank you.